Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens affect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hello, and welcome to Mean Street.
That we much of a crime, and that people were so up in arms about it. Why are they now considering dismissing it? And I think that it puts the lie to the notion that this was really something that we wanted to make an example out of, and you can't engage in this type of conduct. What conduct? You know, it was obviously politically motivated. And, and it happens all over the country. It happens all over the country on both sides of the aisle, though. I have a case right now that, and for me to be able to say this is probably, I had to think, is this the craziest fucking case I've had? And it has to be. It has to be. Because the DA that is sitting in judgment of whether or not these four men that I'm going to tell you about in a moment, right before the election, for him to become DA, gets indicted. He gets indicted for allegedly harassing a former employee and then trying to bribe her not to file a complaint against him, something like that, right before the election. And all of a sudden, he is now embroiled in this. He loses the election a couple of weeks ago, and he is now finds himself according to him, wrongfully accused of a crime he didn't commit. Well, my client is a guy by the name of John Edwards, and there were four guys. This is in Lorain, Ohio, Lorain County, Ohio. It's John Edwards, Lenworth Edwards, Benson Davis, and a guy named Al Cleveland, New York guys in the early 90s who were selling drugs in Ohio. They were going back and forth from Ohio to New York. And one morning, a man by the name of Epps is found dead in the street. His roommate is found about 7 hours later, a woman named Marsha Blakely, dumped in an alley behind a shopping center. The case is cold for a month. The police have hit dead ends. They have nowhere to go with the case. The prosecutor's office offers a $2,000 reward for anyone with information about the case. Wouldn't you know that the next day, a man by the name of William Avery Sr. walks in to the Lorain County Prosecutor's office. They sit him down with the police, and he says, I have information about the case. Now, this guy, William Avery Sr., was a known informant. The police knew him. He had come and tried to give information about other cases, didn't pan out. He was also a drug addict. And they sit with him for over an hour, and they say to him, everything you're telling us has been in the papers. So you're not giving us anything new here. He shows up the next day with his son, William Avery Jr., and he says he witnessed the murder. So William Avery Jr. talks to the police. At the end of that interview, he goes, what about the reward money? And the officer says, let's turn the tape recorder off and let's talk about that. They tell him, we're not giving you the reward money because now you're telling us that information that's been in the papers. And all you're telling us is that you saw Marsha Blakely assaulted in an apartment. You're not telling us anything about the murder. The very next day, he shows up and says that Al Cleveland told him that he murdered Marsha Blakely. So let's put a bookmark in it, because I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different today. At the end of the episode, I'm going to give you a Twitter account. I've submitted today a 40-page submission. All of the exhibits that are mentioned in that submission to the Lorain County Prosecutor. His name is JD Tomlinson. So now I'm going to invite the public. Before you go writing a letter to him or calling him, you read the submission and look at the exhibits yourself. Because what often happens is that in these reinvestigations, prosecutors' offices have something called a conviction integrity unit, where they say they'll reinvestigate the case. And the very first thing they make you do is sign a no media agreement, that you won't go to the media, because the last thing they want you to do is what I just did. Is to talk about the case publicly. So we're not in a conviction integrity unit. We're trying to appeal to a prosecutor, JD Tomlinson, who, from what I
Good evening, everyone. So sorry that I'm on a little bit later. You know how getting husbands out of the door and with kids are. I wanted today to, well, I wanted last night, but apparently because of the rain, my internet was just like everywhere. And I'm like, you know what, for some reason, higher power's telling me not to do this tonight. So I figured we would do it today. I have a little more energy. I'm a little more awake. These will get a little bit more me, but really what we're going to do today is we are just going to go over the rally yesterday for the Ohio 4 that Josh Dubin just explained on the Joe Rogan Experience last week. It was the 14th. So that's if you guys want to go watch the Joe Rogan Experience, the whole episode, it is episode 2228, and it is I was going to say, start at 44 minutes. That's when they start talking about Lorain County. Now, how did I get to Lorain County RICO, sex, lies, and government, to the Ohio 4 right now? Like, how does this even fit? And it does, coincidentally. It fits because, and I'm going to share my screen here with all of you, and I'm on a different computer, so it won't be hard. Make sure I shared my audio. I don't think I did. Hold on. I want to share my audio because last time I didn't, and you know what? Nobody heard me, and I was really, really mad. So window, I want to share Chrome tab, Lorain County Commissioner, also share audio. And, okay, I did share it. All right, so you guys will see me. All right. So right here we have my RICO map, okay? So back in 2022, back in 2021, Michelle Hung conspired with Harry Williamson to get a 7-point. This is Michelle Hung right here in the middle. I'm going to full screen this so you guys can see. Okay, let's swoop in. Okay, this is Michelle Hung right here. She is a commissioner of Lorain County. She was elected in 2020 with her counter Republican part, David Moore. After David Moore wouldn't go, Michelle and Harry Williamson, she had an affair with, they were both married at the time. Harry Williamson, who you'll see is right here with the blue. She had an affair, and they conspired with, my belief is they conspired with Alan Close of Cleveland Communications, Inc. and others to pass a $7.7 million radio contract. Now, that was just for radios, right? That was in for broadband telecommunications, which is what the ARPA dollars are used for, all of that, okay? So they conspired. Well, when all of this, I'm not going to go into the whole story. You guys can go back and watch it. When all of this imploded, pretty much, and you can see the web, Michelle had had access to a tape of the prosecutor's mother in adult acts with Harry Williamson, her boyfriend, because Harry Williamson had been, in a relationship with Marie Tomlinson, apparently. And he, I don't know, unknowingly or knowingly, but he recorded himself in a bad act and, sorry, I tried my balance, recorded himself in a bad act with her. And Michelle had told the prosecutor, and this is in the sheriff's report, so I know she did this. She told the sheriff, she told the prosecutor 2 times, not once, but twice, that she had this tape of his mother. Katie, why does that matter? Because Michelle wanted the prosecutor to assign Sheriff Stamiti, right here, a special prosecutor to go after Dave Moore and Jeff Riddell for rescinding a $7.7 million contract. And he states that in a letter. Like he clearly states, he tells the prosecutor one thing, and there's multiple letters that you can go into my Google Drive on www.mainstreetnews.com, and you can download the Tomlinson Drive and see all of the letters between the sheriff's office and all of that. So I have evidence to say I'm not just, coming up with this. Well, when Tomlinson, came back at Michelle, and I don't know if Michelle did this, I'm assuming Michelle did this, but when Tomlinson came back and said, well, are they 2 consenting adults? Did she know about it? Yeah, okay, well, I'm not gonna, he didn't do anything. He's like, we'll release the tape, pretty much like call your bluff, like, okay, we have the tape, congratulations, I don't know what you want me to do with it. Well, then when that happened, when that all shit imploded and Tomlinson refused to assign a special prosecutor because the sheriff and Captain Van Zandt here, Captain Van Zandt and the sheriff here, started to get upset about him JD Tomlinson not assigning a special prosecutor to the case. They started then to investigate JD Tomlinson and JD Tomlinson's personal life. And that's where Mrs. Battistelli, and here goes here. Ooh, sorry. Mrs. Battistelli comes in. Come on, center this for me. Here we go. All right. So these two start investigating these two, Jennifer and JD's relationship, and you can see the blue worm circling, okay? So these two start investigating these two, okay? And she, as much as JD doesn't want to admit it, he's like, I don't think she knew. She knew. I read the transcripts. We've read the transcripts. So you go back, you can watch those episodes, or read my husband read the transcripts of Van Zandt. They were quite funny. I didn't realize how much fun we had doing that. During this time that they start to investigate him, they had already hired Dennis Will, who was the former Lorain County Prosecutor for many years, and as the sheriff's administrative assistant. He is helping Michelle Hung, because I have emails between the two of them, and the sheriff investigate the radio situation. But then they get this guy, Tony Sillo, who is now going to be the new prosecutor. God help us all. Old guard. You worked in the prosecutor's office for 30 some odd years. Okay. Part of the old establishment, old guard. He starts working at the sheriff's office while he's running. Coincidence. So it's the first time in how many years that the sheriff now has these 2 attorneys that are both targeting him. This one lost the previous campaign. This one's running in the previous campaign, going after him, investigating her. Now, based on a letter that I received anonymously, that I had no idea at the time was under court seal, it showed that Tony Sillo had interactions with Jennifer Battistelli, and Jennifer Battistelli had to send Tony Sillo a cease and desist because when she wouldn't, she wasn't welcoming to his advances of sitting in her office and bullshitting with her all the time. He then decided to start rumors about her and tell everybody and their mother that she was a bad worker. So she actually got her attorney to draft a cease and desist. Now Jennifer is no innocent. Jennifer and Captain Van Zandt, who was investigating the prosecutor and the prosecutor's relationship, started sexting. Sex messages like, you show me yours, I'll show you mine, you send pics, He has a wife, she whatever, but he also says, and the biggest thing about the sexting is that he says in January of 2024, JD threw you out in the paper, like basically tarnished your name. You ready to get back at him? You could help us. I could help you. We could help each other pretty much. That's conspiracy. That's conspiring. So you have an officer conspiring and sexting a victim. And of course, what does she do? Yeah. So over that next few months, after this $100,000 settlement that they're all bitching about, which really is a severance pay, people, they gave her a severance. They gave her a severance and told her to just go away because it would cost more to drag this through court than it would just to be to pay her and to go away. You know what I mean? And as much as people think the justice system is just, and if he's innocent, he's gonna be found innocent, JD now knows he might not be. So these two geniuses, Sheriff Smetty and Captain Van Zandt, filed charges in municipal court, not common county place where you file felony charges, Elyria Municipal against JD Tomlinson and Jim Burge a week before the election. This year of mudslinging, this year of nonsense, ultimately cost JD Tomlinson the election. Okay? I do give JD kudos. He stuck to his guns. He did not allow the sheriff to use his office and his position to attack the commissioner's office. However, did it cost him the election because then they just turned and looked in at him? Yes. But ultimately, JD, you have exposed corruption that has gone down, that has probably gone down for the last 30 years. Because I'm going to tell you this, Dennis Will's in the prosecutor's 30 years. Tony Sillo in the prosecutor's 30 years. Sheriff Smetty in the sheriff for 30 years. You don't like these people are established part of the old guard here in Lorain County, and they weren't that power, that control. Now Dennis Will is very close with Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was our previous county before Dennis Will was ran. I think Dennis Will was prosecutor for a little bit. Anyways, Rosenbaum was our prosecutor for about 30 years. And before that, it was Greg White. Greg White went to the 9th District Court of Appeals, did a bunch of other stuff, but he ended up there, which I bring up for a reason. Because of all of this that happened with JD Tomlinson, and I'm weaving here, it's my new thing with Trump, it's a weave. Because of what happened with JD Tomlinson, Al Cleveland, one of the Ohio Four, his wife goes to JD's office and JD tells her, I've been indicted. I'm no longer going to be able to help you. My political opponents are coming after me. He said for Nancy Smith, it's not just for that's part of it. Nancy Smith's case was a Head Start case. JD exonerated her. But because of this contract thing and the $100,000, he said, I can't help you. I'm indicted. I'm not going to be able to help you. So now that, this all happened, he's not now going to be able to do the right thing, even though he knows these men are not guilty. He knows these men, 2 of them were out of the state at the time. He knows, the entire, not only him, but he knows this. Judges know this. The former prosecutor knows this. They had the Secret Service and the FBI tell the former prosecutor that these men are pretty much innocent, that his leading witness and only witness is a liar, and they still railroaded him. And I think it was intentional. They knew that these men were innocent. And they allowed them to sit in prison the last 30 years. And when they go to appeals and stuff, they don't, say, look at the evidence. No, they threaten the witness that's recanting his statement, Avery Jr., saying that I lied, that I lied and this isn't true and these men are innocent. They say, we're going to throw you in prison. Because you're either lying then or lying now. Not let's get to the bottom of this. Let's look for justice, and not just justice for these 4 men, but for Marsha Blakely and Epps, a man who was found 2 miles down the road, murdered in the same fashion, and the woman's roommate. Let's get justice for them. We still have murderers on our street. because I think it's more than one person. I think one person killed two people and stabbed them each 25 times, slit their throats, ran over their heads. I mean, this murder is just, it's brutal. She deserves justice. Marsha Blakely deserves justice. So do these men. So I'm going to play the rally for you guys today. We're going to go over the case. I've been actually looking through the case filings. We're going to go over that more tomorrow, but just today we're going to keep it short. I want you guys to hear from the men themselves. And then I'm going to tell you what we're going to want you to do tomorrow. I pushed it back a day just because of my live. Kind of went crazy yesterday. But I really want you guys to listen. And Lorain, I'm from Lorain. I'm from the Steel. I lived 15 years in the Steel. I've been in Lorain County since 2000 and... When did I move to high school? I graduated, I was 6. So 2002. I've been in Lorain County since 2002. It is time for us to step up because I know probably 10, 15 people that have been railroaded by the old prosecutor. I also know that if you were certain people doing certain activities, it was overlooked by the certain prosecutor. Now, I find really interesting. I don't think Rosenbaum's a good guy. You know, he was shot by his son shot him accidentally. Back, what year was it? It was recently. It made him paralyzed, and then his son ended up ending his own life, which is very sad. But when he was shot, he blamed his son. He thought he accused his son on the 911 call of like doing it intentionally. If you were such a good person, who would ever accuse their son? You know what I mean? And I found out from a birdie today, and this is not 100% confirmed. I'm still trying to get this confirmed, that Dr. Mattis, who was the doctor that signed off on the had to sign off on the autopsy, wasn't certified to do so. And that was known. The claim. This is not mine. This is somebody told me today. I put a records request in to confirm, and I'm gonna figure this out. But that. You know, and that I'm pretty sure he testified. I'm not sure. I got to look. But Dr. Mattis wasn't certified to sign off on the autopsy. And when he did, and Dennis Will was very well aware of this, and the only reason he didn't bring it up is because every case that Dr. Mattis testified in, signed off an autopsy report on, would have had to been brought back up. So we're going to start at the beginning. We are going to start with, I'm going to end this. So this is why I care, because it is 100% relevant to what I'm doing with the RICO and with JD Tomlinson. And real quick, I'm actually sorry, I'm moving. I want to show you before we move on what Michelle said to in the sheriff's report. Okay, so remove this. So Hung admits, this is in the sheriff's radio investigation report. Hung advised that she had informed Tomlinson on 2 occasions of alleged videos about the alleged videos for help. Hung advised that she was afraid of Tom Williams, how he had information, whatever. Hung advised Tomlinson asked if she, his mother, was a willing party in the incident. Now, even the investigator, Van Zandt, who also investigated the prosecutor for the Battistelli thing, he says Commissioner Hung claims that Director Williamson, a family member of Tomlinson's, family is like she motel, whatever. Even if this allegation is true, it is not a crime unless Commissioner Moore is insinuating that due to an alleged sexual relation that the county prosecutor is compromised and or being blackmailed not to perform his duties. She tried. Exactly what she did. And she's quite mad that he didn't do it. Do you want to know why I know that? She's mad. She knew because she said it on the news. When the prosecutor's charges of bribery, intimidation, and tampering with evidence were filed, this is what Michelle Hung had to say.
County Commissioner Michelle Hung says Tomlinson has repeatedly refused to look into issues she and others have raised and believes Lorain County does not have a prosecutor. Fellow Commissioner Dave Morse.
What issues did she look at? Did he didn't look into that she would be concerned about? The 911 issue? The radio issue? These people are idiots. They tell on themselves. But back to the Ohio 4. Today is about the rally, Ohio 4. I just wanted people to be like, why does she care about this all of a sudden? And stop this. And I didn't stop that. We're finishing that up at Thanksgiving week. I'm done. I'm done with the radio investigation. Well, I'm not done. I'm still, lobbying in the background and pushing people to do the right thing here, but I'm done on the podcast. We're going to move on to education stuff. I have a whole week planned next week. It's going to be fun. All right, let's get to this video. I got to share my screen really quick, and you guys will actually be able to hear it. I'm not going to, mess this whole thing up. Entire screen, share, okay. So we start with Josh doing an intro.
Well, thank you all for coming. I think it means a lot that we got people to pay attention here today to what I think is one of the most tragic cases that I've seen in more than 2.5 decades of doing this kind of work. I think we have a rare opportunity because we have actual evidence, overwhelming evidence of innocence, where the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, where the parole board, where the county prosecutor, the prosecuting attorney in Lorain, all know that these 4 men are innocent and that they've suffered way too long, more than 3 decades, branded as murderers for crimes they didn't commit. And we're going to make our voices heard loud and proud. We're not going anywhere until we right this wrong, until we get justice. And listen, I'm hopeful, because I think that the prosecuting attorney now knows what it's like to get accused of a crime he says he's innocent of. And he got one small taste of that, and these men have suffered far too long. We have Al and Lemworth here who did, we have more than a century of wrongful incarceration in this crowd, between Al and Len and Derek Hamilton and Charles and others that are here. So I'll say this, that JD Tomlinson has an opportunity to say something was wrong, and I help make it right. And we're behind him. And we believe that when he sees more of the evidence of these men's innocence, that these 2 men can finally live their lives without this burden on their back. It's been far too long. And we're gonna bring Shaquem home. We're gonna bring Benson home. And we're not gonna stop until they come home.
That's right.
All right? What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
The next clip is going to be, and he's right, JD got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to be wrongfully accused, and for a very short, minute time, with charges that he didn't even probably really take that seriously, because he's like, I can rebuke this all day. But what if you were, like, put yourself in these men's shoes? 30 years. They know, the judge, the prosecutor, the FBI, the Secret Service, they all know these men are innocent. And you would think, Katie, the judge and justice, if they are, they're just going to know. And why? I think it's politically motivated. I think it makes not only the prosecutor's office look bad, but it shows this. It's a prime example, a huge example of systemic corruption that has gone on in Lorain County for 30 years in the prosecutor's office and in the judgeships. 30 years. It's not about what you know or if you think it's free. It's about who you know. And that is wrong. Regardless of background, regardless of whatever, it should be uniformly, if you're innocent, you should not be sitting in prison. And we should not be using people's lives to help your political careers. And the scariest part about all of this is Tony Sillo, who was a part of that club. He can say he wasn't all day. He was a part of that club, is going to be back there. Because he lied and made the public believe that JD Tomlinson is a womanizer, knowing he's not. And where is the accountability for them? Rosenbaum should be in prison for what he knew and didn't say his license to practice law should be revoked. The bar should revoke his license. He is dangerous. And Rosenbaum is the one that sued JD to get the EEOC complaint that, by the way, was never filed. It was never filed. It was a threat by an attorney, a young attorney. It was never filed in the by the Equal Employment Opportunity Department. It was never filed. It was sent. It was filled out and sent. And Jennifer said in testimony she never wrote it. She said, well, I didn't write it. I mean, she said it probably 6 times to Captain Van Zandt, but he was too worried about his going after the prosecutor and getting what he wanted, using the law in the way that he wanted and to his benefit, and worrying about, getting, thinking about his other brain than what the truth is. Sorry, I'm trying to see which one goes first. Right here. Leonard Edwards, another man that was a part of this. His attorney here is going to speak. And
we're behind him. And we believe that when he sees more of the evidence of these men's innocence, that these 2 men can finally live their lives without this burden. Without this burden on their back. It's been far too long. And we're going to bring Shaquem home. Yeah. We're going to bring Benson home. And we're not going to stop until they come home.
That's right.
All right? What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I'm going to have Derek say a few words and we'll bring up Al and Len as well. And Kim as well. So Josh.
My name is Derek Hamilton. I'm a Deputy Director of the Perelman Center of Legal Justice. I've served 25 years in prison for a murder that I not commit. Single witness identification, as it is in this case, is one of the most unreliable pieces of evidence to convict anybody. The individual, Avery, who accused these men of murder, is proven liar. There's undisputed evidence he didn't see the crime. There's undisputed evidence that he told the police, he told the court, he told the Secret Service, he told anybody that would listen that these men were innocent. And the judge said, well, if you come in and say they're innocent, you're going to jail. A judge told him that. A judge prohibited him from coming in and telling the truth. I think Lorain County must understand the importance of justice, the importance of freeing people that's innocent. Guilty people should go to jail, not innocent people. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim Corral. Let us say a few words for a client. Yeah. And briefly, and then I'm going to bring up the individual that was wrongfully convicted.
My name's Kim Corral. My firm represents Lenworth Edwards, one of the 4 men wrongfully accused and convicted of murder in this crime. And I think one of the things that's so appalling about this case is that this county has allowed politics to stand in the way of justice. I think any reasonable-minded person who's looked at the evidence in this case, who's looked at the exhibits, who's looked at the facts, comes to the exact same conclusion every time. There wasn't enough evidence to convict them in the first place, but the only evidence they had was the testimony of Avery Jr., who recanted that testimony in an affidavit, which is a sworn statement. Then he was threatened when he went to take the stand, but as he walked out of court, he announced to the press that he lied, that he had to clear his conscience, and that what he did put 4 innocent men in prison. 2 of them remain in prison to this day. The 2 who are here today spent collectively more than 40 years incarcerated. And it's not enough to say that the timing's not right, that there are political hurdles. The people of Lorain County, the people of Ohio want a criminal justice system that is driven by justice and not by politics.
Yep.
The prosecutors in this county and every county have an ethical obligation, a sworn obligation, not to win at any cost, not to put finality over fairness, finality over truth, and finality over justice. Their obligation to the people, to the Supreme Court they swore to, is to pursue justice. And in this case, there's only one response to that, which is to vacate all 4 men's convictions, dismiss the indictments, and exonerate them entirely.
Right.
It's been too long. We want justice now, but we should have had it 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one thing before we bring the Ohio Innocence Project up. You can search high and low. You could be a fan of true crime podcasts or documentaries or TV shows. You'll be hard pressed to find a case where the United States Secret Service writes a letter to the prosecutor that prosecuted these 4 men. The prosecutor, Mr. Rosenbaum, and says, listen, the man that says they did this is a proven liar.
That's right.
That he's given us testimony, he's given us stories in exchange for money, and he has lied to us.
That's right.
And we no longer trust him. He's put members of the U.S. Secret Service in danger because of his lies. We're terminating him as an informant. And we're going to investigate him. And the prosecutor that prosecuted these men at that moment should have said, enough is enough.
Right.
There was no evidence linking these men to this crime except for the word of a known liar. And you have the federal government doing its job and says to the prosecutor in Lorain County, you can't trust this man. This should have ended decades ago. Decades ago.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
Introducing Lorain Staley, Innocence Project. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Lorain Staley. I'm one of the attorneys who represents Al Cleveland, the Ohio Innocence Project. Look, everybody has pretty much said it, but this prosecution was a house of cards built on the testimony of one man who told a story to get reward money from police. That story is easily disproven. Al Cleveland was in New York at the time of the crime. He wasn't even in Ohio. Prosecution knew it then. They had that evidence then, and they still pushed through. It is beyond time to clear these men's names. These 4 men are innocent, and we're ready to do it.
Yeah.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Next, you're going to hear from, Leonard Edwards. Leonard Edwards spent, I think 29 years, I'm pretty sure. 29 years in prison. And then we're going to hear from, wrong notebook, that's why. How long did you spend in prison? I want to say 29 years. Here we go. Leonard, 29 years. He spent 29 years in prison.
Now!
Lenny Edwards did 29 years and 4 months for a crime. Had nothing to do with. I just hope today that some attention get brought to this. JD Tomlinson does the right thing and looks at this case and not only do the right thing by us, but do the right thing by Marshall Blakely and Floyd Epps and find out what's really going on in this case. You know, I can't even express words how doing one day in there for something you didn't do is for 29 years. I just cannot find words. So I'm out, but I'm still living the nightmare. I just really hope that we get justice, this time.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we
Justice!
Now we're going to hear from Al Cleveland, and I couldn't hear him that well, but I believe he spent 27 years in prison. And what's really interesting is these men, even though they were paroled, they maintain their innocence, which is very rare. So they were paroled, but still saying at parole, I didn't do this. that says something, you know. I mean, it's crazy.
It's been going on for far too long. We got 2 guys in there, still in there right now. The proverbial can, keeps getting kicked down the road. I don't understand it. It's not my job, but it's been going on for far too long. We got 2 guys in there, still in there right now, over 30 years in. And they need to be home with their families.
Right.
This case, as everybody explained clearly, rests solely on the testimony of an admitted liar that everyone in the community knew was a liar. But they still allowed him to come and testify at our trials. Why? And then when you had the opportunity to get it straight and bring him back after he wanted to clear his conscience, you kick him away and threaten him with indictment. This is crazy. You know, I try to be forgiving. I try to get past it.
Yeah.
But then I'm mad, man.
Yeah.
Because this was done intentionally. I feel like it was done intentionally.
It was.
A mistake. Sometimes wrongful conviction mistakes happen. They get it wrong. They think a guy did it, and you know, they make the mistake. But this wasn't a mistake, man. This was individuals that came together to put this together to convict
Conspired.
us. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. How many years did you convicted of aggravated murder? Sentence 20. Good job, bro. 20 life. And I saw some security. You know, got out on good behavior. You know, handling my business, staying out the way, and basically did the time for murder. I didn't do it.
And the true suspect stayed out in society.
Yeah, that's the real tragedy here, is that whoever did this is roaming these streets. And that these men probably could have got out sooner. That they said, okay, I did it. I'll tell you a rare thing, that when they were paroled for a crime they didn't commit, they maintained their innocence.
That's right.
Something that happens far too infrequently. All right?
So like you said, they maintained their innocence even when they were being paroled. They still said, we did not do this. Next, we have Edward Leonard's attorney. Sorry, I keep saying attorney going and talking about qualified immunity. I found this really interesting because she said that if the prosecutor had actual facts, you know, I'm gonna let her say it because I don't know verbatim, but you pay attention here because they go into qualified immunity.
Did the right thing, and unfortunately, there was blowback in the community, which should never happen when someone is innocent and someone does the right thing. And JD Tomlinson has been thorough. We've submitted a comprehensive submission to him with all the evidence of innocence, overwhelming evidence of innocence. You can access it yourself. freetheohio4.com. See it for yourself. All the exhibits are there. All the arguments are there. Write them a letter. Give them a call. We urge the community. Everyone always asks, what can we do to help? What can we do to pitch in? How can we help make a difference? That was why I made it loud and clear on the Joe Rogan podcast, who I thank for continuing to feature these stories and giving us this platform so that these cases of innocence can be heard. And I said it loud and proud. Let's do something different. Put the evidence out there and let the public see. There has not been one person that has contacted any of us and said, yeah, but what about this piece of evidence? Or how about that argument? The only argument, the only evidence was the words of who is now a known fraud and liar, and who at least had the wherewithal to say, you know what? I can't live with myself anymore. He has said it once, twice, he has said it over and over again. And no longer should his voice be cries in the darkness. No longer should they be screams so that someone should hear. No longer should he be threatened with jail time for telling the truth.
Let me ask you a question. I've heard some say that this is going to continue until lawyers and prosecutors are found guilty of exculpatory evidence that they knew.
Yep.
That's all we need.
Well, I think qualified immunity has big problems.
Yep.
And I think that one of the most common questions I get asked is, what are the consequences for these folks? We have some great people that work on policy work at the Perlmutter Center for Legal Justice, the Ohio Innocence Project, Kim, the Ohio Public Defenders, who are also part of this case. We all make that push. I can say for myself that I think you'd see a heck of a lot less wrongful convictions if prosecutors, if police detectives, if investigators were aware that if I continue down this path and turn my eyes from the truth, that there could be consequences for me. So I'm in violent agreement that should begin to occur. And that's somewhat above my pay grade, but I have no problem banging that drum.
I think the idea and the purpose originally of qualified immunity was to suggest that if prosecutors recognized that they had done harm in the course of their prosecution, they could, with immunity, admit to that harm and participate in correcting that injustice. We can't undo the injustice of wrongful conviction, but we can put a stop to it. We could give people room to heal, room to rebuild their lives. But qualified immunity is not working like that. It's working as a shelter and a protection and a way to encourage prosecutors. It's not just in cases from the 90s. Attorneys who work in the defense bar are seeing it even still today. Prosecutors are hiding, misleading, not being transparent about evidence so that they can win cases, so they can advance their own career, so they can protect their own reputation. And that is not how the justice system is supposed to work, and that was not the purpose of qualified immunity. The purpose of qualified immunity was to give an open space for prosecutors to say, we shouldn't have believed Avery Jr. All the evidence was there then, we shouldn't have believed him. It's there now, we shouldn't have believed him. There was no physical, forensic, or scientific evidence linking these men to the crime, but there also wasn't any evidence, physical, forensic, or scientific evidence, that substantiated Avery Jr.'s statement. So while it was a bad actor who tried to lie to get a reward, the prosecution participated in and forwarded that lie in order to sustain a conviction so that they could come to the public and say that very scary crime, that very violent crime that all of us want to see eradicated from our communities, we put some people away for that. But in trying to save face, they threw away 4 humans, like it didn't matter, like their lives had no value. And they should not be protected from the harm that they cause.
I think we got to talk about absolute immunity. The 11th Amendment of the United States Constitution gives prosecutors and judges absolute immunity. I think that has to be repealed. Without accountability, we're going to have these over and over. There's no accountability. When you have no accountability, police officers get pat on the back based on arrest. Prosecutors based on how many cases they convict. And judges, how fast they move the case to the court. We have to change the justice system where justice is number one. The 11th Amendment should be repealed. We should have an amendment that comes in and says you intentionally convict anybody, that's a crime. You go to jail. So I think that we should get rid of the 11th Amendment so that everybody, the president is being held accountable, right? So how, if he go to trial, prosecutors can't, right? He went to trial for crimes he allegedly committed and was convicted, right? That was about money. That was about lying. We're talking about human lives. Sending people to prison for crimes they didn't commit.
Amen.
If I go out, people on death row right now that's innocent, right? If I attempt to kill somebody, I go to jail. Why shouldn't the prosecute? That's my answer.
Exactly. Amen.
Harry.
Can you scoot over just a little bit for me? Just a little bit, thank you. I'm sorry.
They should do their
I'm
job
sorry.
and they should handle this. But instead, that was hidden. We found it. And if anyone out there knows anything concretely, and I know they do, this is Lorain County. They know what happened. I get it that nobody wanted to support four guys because we're not from here, we're from New York. I get that. But two people in this county here committed these murders, still walking around. And if anybody has information that can help with that, please come forward so we can clear this up. There's two guys in there with over 30 years in, still doing time for something they didn't do.
That's right.
Let them go. Blank period, didn't do. Just imagine that.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Now!
All right.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Anybody else want to say something briefly?
So that was the press conference. As you guys can see, you know, you can just see the hurt, you know, and I think we here in Lorain County can do something. I believe in the people in Lorain County. I've lived here my a great portion of my adult life. I mean, I grew up in Fairview, right across the border and around Cleveland, which made me. That's me. I'm CLE till I die. But I spent a lot of time in Lorain County. Know how Lorain County works. Now that I'm into politics and governmental stuff, I actually understand how the system works, and it's disgusting. And I've been on the other end of people trying to use their power to intimidate. Unfortunately, they haven't met me, and I'm not one to easily intimidate. I'm not a criminal. You're not going to, you know, find me out and about. I pretty much sit at home, and if I'm not at home, I'm at my mom's, because I'm a loser. But I'm okay with that. I partied when I was younger. I was into all the bad stuff. It was a fun time, and I'm done. We need to get a hold of JD Tomlinson. I will be providing you guys tomorrow a little bit more. We're going to be looking at a couple of documents, just some stuff that I saw that I want to show you guys. We're going to do it real quick in the morning, and then we're going to finish the Tomlinson timeline tomorrow. We need to write to JD, give him our support, let him know that the public is behind him. If, you know, JD's future, based on rumors, is he's going to try to go for judgmentship, I would like to tell JD personally right now, I will use this all day against you if you do. If you don't do the right thing here, and you don't exonerate these men, and you don't really do the right thing. This is the oath you took to do so. Yeah, this is going to be totally used against you, that you kept these men in prison, even knowing that they are free. I've gone through that file, JD. I'm about halfway through that file. There's a lot of documents, probably up to 600 pages already, and you know, it's disgusting. The people that were interviewing Avery Jr. was telling him that he was smoking crack with his dad. And they used him as a witness to a murder, and a horrific murder. And Marsha Blakely and Raymond Epps, they deserve justice. They deserve peace. The people that stabbed Marsha Blakely 25 times, ran over her head multiple times, slit her throat. She deserves justice. So does Epps. And it's time, and I believe in us here in this county. I believe that we can do the right thing. Call it a Christmas miracle. Call it what you want. We need to do this. We need, as a people, to stick up to this prosecutor's office, because I'm going to tell you this right now. Tony Stillo is a part of that. And we need to make it very clear to him, we will not be tolerating the same bullshit that he has been doing, and Rosenbaum has been doing, and Will has been doing, because I guarantee you Will is going to come in on his staff somewhere. Deputy Chief of Staff, probably. Rumors he has a woman for a Chief of Staff, but Deputy Chief of Staff. We need to make it very clear to them, and to the current sheriff, the new sheriff, that we are not going to be tolerating this bullshit in Lorain County anymore. It has affected my friends, their corruption, where they're poor, they can't afford an attorney. It's lawfare. So they have to plead guilty to a crime they didn't commit. One of my friends lost the first year and a half of his son's life on a gun spec charge, but they never found a gun on him. We need to start doing the right thing, people. I know people go around all day and say, well, it doesn't affect me. It will. It will. One day it'll affect your mother, your brother, your sister, your someone, and you'll be like, I thought this system was fair. I thought we were supposed to be fair. Well, for 30 years, we've done nothing to combat the corruption in the prosecutor's office and on the bench. We've done nothing. We've watched it. It's time to stop watching it. Let's do right by these men. Who cares if they're from New York? They were here. They're in our jails, our prisons. And talk about, social justice and this and that. This is the time to step up. And it's easy as making a phone call, and it's as easy as writing a letter. And I'm going to give you tonight will be on my website. If you go into my website, meanstreetnews.com, and you go under templates, it'll be under there probably about 9:30. I'm just editing it. When I write something, I go back and edit it before I do. Or you can give JD a call. I'll actually give you, sorry, JD, I'm going to give you his number right now while we're here. I know it's 440-320. Hold on, I got to find a text. I want you to call JD here. Sorry, not 320. 1-440-371-0852. I want you to give his cell phone a call and tell him to free the Ohio 4. Exonerate the Ohio 4, free the Ohio 2 that are sitting in prison right now, and bring them home. You know that this is the right thing to do. I know you know this, JD, because you freed Nancy Smith. Don't let what happened with Jennifer Battistelli, and by the way, those charges were dropped at everybody, like completely, because she's a liar. And JD can go on the news and say that he doesn't believe it was her. He's just trying to protect his girlfriend. I get it, but she knew. There's pages and pages of her cooperating with them. She gave them those videos of you. The sheriff's department apparently has your sex tapes too. So, they knew. But let's do the right thing. Let's get a hold of JD. Let's say they free the Ohio 4. Like I said, go on my template. We're going to go into a little more of this, only for about a half hour tomorrow, just to kind of reinvigorate you guys. And then we're going to go back to the Tomlinson timeline. Then we're going to go back to my RICO. And then we're going to close it up at the end of the week. And happy friggin' Thanksgiving. I'm done. No, I'm not done. I'm done on the podcast. But in the background, I'll be doing what I do. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, send me a chat, send me an email. You can get a hold of me at the Mean Street Ohio one's done. You can email me at K, B as in boy, E as in Edward, Y as in yellow, E as in Edward, R as in rainbow, 21 at M as in mouse, E as in elephant.com, kbuyer21 at me.com. Or you can give me a call directly. I'll put my phone number out there. I'm not ashamed of my game. 440-541-9207. If you have any information on this case, you have any tips, you have anything, please let me know. I will share that with the people that I can. You guys have a great evening, and I'm gonna go furnish my house. As you guys can see, it's a little bare. I gotta put my bulbs up there, and then I'll give you guys like a little tour of it when it's done. I'm Christmas crazy. It looks like Santa, the North Pole, just like in my house. But have a good night, and I will talk to you all soon. And stay focused, Ohio. Stay focused, Lorain County. Sorry, I'm stopping my screen. And if you guys have any information, please get a hold of us. Oh, no, I lied. I want to show you guys this. Voices for Injustice, the site. So there's a website. There's a Facebook group for these men out Cleveland and their organization, Voices of injustice, or you can go to Twitter, join this group. It's a great group. Or you can go to Twitter at Free the Ohio 4. Also, I saw this podcast, More Than a Felon, where they interviewed all these men that were incarcerated. Al Cleveland was a part of that, who was part of the Ohio 4. And I believe Leonard Edder was there. But they interviewed these, look, I have two sets. I haven't finished painting my nails. They interviewed these men that have all been wrongfully convicted, and I really appreciated it, and I really liked it. I think she just started. I think they're only like 7 episodes in, but if you go to YouTube and you go More Than a Felon, it was a great podcast. So go to Voices for Injustice, More Than a Felon, freetheohio4.com, or you can find them on the Twitter or X, and it is free the Ohio 4 or Free the Ohio 4, one of the two, but you'll find it. It's there. And I'll tag all of those links too in my description below when I finish it. You guys have a great evening. I'll talk to you and stay focused. Bye. Thank you for joining me today on Mean Street. I hope you enjoyed the show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. You can support directly underneath at the Spotify donations, or you can directly give a donation at paypal.me/meanstreetohio. Any donation received will help me continue to provide news to you and everyone else across Ohio and beyond. I love what I do, and I just hope to continue to do it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me today on